5 years ago, the Methodist Circuit here in Warrington had a multiplex act of worship. That's where many different forms of worship takes place in the same venue. At that venue, we decided to do a cafe-style worship. Two of us got together and led that. And the capacity of the coffee shop is 40. And when 65 people started to try to get into that room, we realised there was something special about this. So it was something about seeing the need of people, of them wanting to try something different. And that alternative act of worship happened 5 years ago. What we found is that people were coming to New Song Cafe that had no other church home to go to. They came along and we had that responsibility to nurture them, to care for them and to love them. And people were hungry to know more about God, more about discipleship, more how to grow in the faith. And so alongside New Song Cafe we started something called discipleship. And that takes place on the second Sunday night as opposed to the fourth Sunday night for cafe. And people come in there for some in-depth teaching, worship, and of course the cake, which we tend to have whatever we do. They came along for that. And then we started doing other things too. We started a hot drinks ministry at the local crematorium. We started the community action team of going out and doing good deeds in the community. And then we started New Song Breakfast. And people started dipping into each of those depending on their availability, when they took place, and also the comfort of how they felt about going to things like this. We also started some social events, a walking group we started, quiz nights, evening meals together, all places that people could dip in and out as per their comfort and also bring friends along to. And then this idea of network materialise. So New Song Network is the overarching theme of what we're doing with different constituents within it. And now 5 years on, 170 people come to New Song Cafe. Along with those, there are many others that dip into the network, who go to the walking group. So we're reaching 300 plus people through New Song Network. And what has surprises is the strength of people's passion for wanting to be engaged with it. This has become their church. Therefore, it's a brand new church, it's a brand new congregation, and that is so exciting. It exceeds all that we could possibly have imagined. And the moves are that it's growing more and more. We have a strategy for growth. We want to double our numbers, and that's how it's going.
I don't generally come to Bold Street Church. I'm just a New Song member, and come with my sister and with my daughter. A couple of months ago, my daughter had her baptism at New Song, which was her choice. She's 14 and she wanted to be baptised into New Song because it was where she felt like she belonged.
Myself and my wife came to New Song Cafe literally at the first meeting, and New Song is just coming up to its 5th birthday, and 5 years ago at the start of January we lost our son, 3 days of age. We found such a love and fellowship at New Song, and just a place where we could come and be ourselves, and just feel the love of that community, and just a place where there were no rules. It was just come and be who you are and engage with it as you want to.
I've been involved in leading a lot of different things in various churches, and my mum often would come along to various things. She's very involved in church herself. My dad would come along quite, just to special events like something we do at Christmas or something. But New Song Cafe, this is the first time we've had something that he will consistently come along to as well, regularly, month in, month out.
Started coming to New Song Cafe a few years ago with my wife Christine, because my son Mark plays bass guitar in the worship group. I found it to be a very relaxed and sort of friendly atmosphere, and I've continued to come since.
For me, it's a real chance to just be able to worship in an environment where I can lead my own worship and I can be free and easy to express myself, and kind of go at my own pace and just kind of get lost in my own worship of God, really.
The relationship with the New Song Network is a growing relationship with the local Methodist Circuit and also the churches. We couldn't hold any of our activities without the willingness of what we would class as traditional or inherited churches, and we are so grateful to Bold Street Methodist Church, which hosts cafe, and Latchford Methodist Church, which hosts breakfast and discipleship. For us, that illustrates the strength of mixed economy. There is no threat. It's not about competition, it's about working collaboratively together. There are those that don't get it. There are those that, dare I say, don't want to get it. It's new, it's fresh, it hasn't happened before, and we're finding our way all the time. Being pioneers means that no one's gone before. We are almost putting fresh footprints in the stand, and we're having to find our way. And that's interesting as New Song Network tries to think about becoming a church in its own right. It already is church as far as a community of believers, but the governance and all that is involved in a church, we're now progressing that. Soon it will be New Song Network Church. We know all about closing churches. We know verbatim how to go through the process, but the process of setting up a brand new church and congregation, sometimes we struggle with that. And we're trying to find our way. Some get it, some help us, many question. That's part of what we have to do together for ourselves and for the Methodist Church to learn about new things that are happening. Cafe might well work in many contexts, and I know that other places have inquired and they're looking at setting up New Song Cafe in their own area. But how that develops into a network will be entirely driven by their context, by who they are, by the ages that come to cafe, by their style of music. Of how they do that is going to drive how their network might develop. But network is not a stepping stone. We don't expect people to come to our Sunday morning services, for example, although I would like to say that some people have started doing that. We haven't invited them. That sounds a bit harsh. We haven't said, oh, this is a stepping stone, or you must come along to this. But they've decided to do that. But this is a church in its own right. It sits alongside other churches, whether they are of inherited traditional type or new emerging congregations. It sits alongside all of them and seeks to resource and re-energise people. We have a leadership of 14 people from various walks of life, various backgrounds and relationships with the church, and they are part of our leadership. They're the amazing folk. They're the people that I am completely in awe of. They're the ones who are passionate about New Song. They're the ones that want to take it forward, who run with ideas, who help it all happen. This isn't about one person. This is about the Spirit of God that's working amongst people's lives and seeing new leaders emerging in the church. We're now at a stage where we've drafted our 5-year strategy for the year ahead, of looking at other new things that we want to do. For example, New Song Kids, we're looking at starting up, and other things too. We're always looking for fresh and new initiatives. But without a doubt, for us, it's about the governance, the structure of how New Song Network is developing, of training new leaders that are coming through, of discipling many people. They are passionate about the Methodist Church, so much so that we've used the 4 areas of our calling for our governance. So all that we do is part of those 4 areas of our calling. And that for us is really important, that we are a balanced church that's developing, not just focused on worship and cake, although that's very important, but the whole thing about evangelism, serving, and of course learning and caring together. So we do a Bible study in a local coffee shop. We have home groups. We go out and do things in the community. We're looking for missional opportunities to reach out, to tell people the good news of Jesus. And that's the growth. That's the exciting bit. And we're going to further develop that in the next 5 years. I've used the word surprise an awful lot when I've talked about New Song, and God continually surprises us. It takes our breath away, the opportunities that we have. We take New Song on the road. We will take it out to places and give people an experience of cafe. We play at stadium events. We're doing all sorts of things. And God just keeps on exceeding our expectations, and we are catching up with him. In essence, God's doing the mission, and we just want to serve him, follow him with our whole hearts and minds and soul. Where God goes, we follow. And that's the exciting bit. It takes our breath away, and that's exciting too.